Jacy Sheldon is here talking about the Ohio State University program she is more than a little bit familiar with. And now, from a different angle, we'll be talking that. We'll be talking Dallas wins. We'll be talking about women's basketball writ large. Locked On Women's Basketball starts now.
You are Locked On Women's Basketball, your daily podcast on women's basketball. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome to Locked On Women's Basketball. I'm your host, Howard Megdal. I want to thank you for making us your first listen every day. You guys keep showing up for us. Over 300,000 showing up to listen in October 2024 alone. We're so grateful to our community who shows up for us the way we show up for you 6 days a week. And of course, it is not just me. It is this incredible team we have across the board covering women's basketball over at The Next. At thenexthoops.com, we have over 100 reported pieces every single month. $9 a month or $72 a year. You just get them all in your inbox. It's just this unbelievable steady stream of coverage of the game. We've always wanted it. It is here, thenexthoops.com. And we've had the opportunity to cover you, Jacy Sheldon, during your time as a collegiate player, during your time as a pro player. I am on the record from previous times you've been on this podcast talking about, gee, I think you have, if you wanted a future in coaching because of the way you think about the game. I will be honest, it's even faster than I realized it would happen. But, now that you are on staff at the Ohio State University, and right, that's how it always, the Ohio State University, right?
I'm doing it right. Of course.
Just making sure. Take me through just, and we'll talk in segment one about sort of the ins and outs of how this came to be and what it means for you. But when this first floated as an opportunity for you.
Yeah, it's interesting. My initial plan was actually to go overseas and play for Townsville in Australia, and was super excited for that opportunity. Found out I was worsening an injury during the WNBA season and had to kind of prioritize my rehab and recovery. So had to miss out on that opportunity. But this opportunity came about right after the season when I got home after finding out about this, and I was super excited. I obviously was here not too long ago and on the other side of things as a player, and know a lot of these girls, know a lot of the newcomers as well. So being able to now be on the coaching side of it and kind of look at the game from a different perspective has been really cool.
Getting the chance to coach people who you played with has to be a bit of a complicated thing. Is it a conversation? Is there just a mutual understanding? Like, how do you go about sort of navigating that, even from a social perspective?
Yeah, it hasn't been too difficult. A lot of these girls I've played multiple years with, and still are some of my really close friends. And if anything, I think that's just is an advantage accepting this position and being able to, I don't even want to use the word coach, but guide them through this process. And obviously, it's something I've been through before and have been in their shoes before. But now, being able to watch the game from a different perspective and see things that they're doing now that maybe I didn't as a player. And obviously, I know the ins and outs of our offense and defense pretty well, and I'm pretty familiar with it, so that's an advantage as well. But no, it hasn't been difficult. It's been fun, to be honest, and I hope they would say the same.
And Coach McGuff has always talked about you in such complimentary ways, number one. But number two, also has spoken about you as a coach on the floor when you played there. So I just wonder from that perspective, is there any sort of change? We talked to Maddie Seidrist about this last year when we had Maddie on the show, and she talked about the fact that she's used to being able to impact the game on the floor. Is there almost muscle memory there at times when you're watching in the game? You guys are off to a really strong start, but just what's that like?
Absolutely. That's so funny. I actually reached out to Maddie when I knew I would be in this position because I knew she's been through the similar, experience. But absolutely, I even find myself now sometimes during close games, imagining, it's easier when you're out there. All coaches will tell you that. It's easier when you're out there. And now you're sitting and you really have to think through different parts of the game, different things that you wouldn't necessarily have to think of when you're out there on the floor. It's almost more nerve-wracking for me, you have less control. But it's been cool to navigate how to, relay messages, relay what I'm seeing to the girls, and even to the coaches. It's been cool to see them interact, and I'm learning a lot. And we've only had 3 games so far, so just excited to continue in this position.
Having your family around you, having Emmy around you, who is of course a superstar in
Oh
the
yeah.
in the basketball
Mhm.
world now as well. You know, take me through what that conversation was like when you were able to tell them, "Hey, I'm not going to be halfway across the world. I'm going to be home."
Yeah, it was bittersweet. Obviously, the bright side is being able to see a lot more of them.
Yeah.
And I think they're excited about it too. Emmy selfishly is pumped. She gets to come to all the games again and like nothing changed. So she's super excited, and my family is as well. I think, hearing about me not being able to go to Australia, I think they were a little bummed, but I think when they heard about this position, they were just excited. And they're both coaches. So I think little selfishly too, they were like, this is awesome. And they help me just as much as anyone through anything I go through, so I'm just thankful to be around them still.
Injury wise, nothing long term. You're feeling good. You're on a position to be able to go
Yeah,
back to being able to
absolutely. Yep,
play.
I'll be good for the next upcoming WNBA season. Yep.
Good, we're glad to hear that. And again, like you said, you come from a family of coaches. Is that sort of a conversation about, what you're doing, how you're doing it? Do you talk shop, or do you try and kind of keep it separate to a degree to try and separate from the work that you also love? How do you navigate that?
Yeah, I think it's a balance of both. I think obviously keeping it separate and to an extent, and going, it's cool to go to my parents for advice I needed in any sense of coaching. They've probably been through it. I've watched them do it, grew up watching my dad coach, and even my mom. So it's cool to even see some tactics that our coaching staff used that I watched them do when I was little. It's kind of a full circle moment, but it's definitely a balance, I would say. I'd say separating it is also important. It's part of the job. It's part of, what we come in here and work on every day. But I'm still navigating it as well, but it's been really cool to learn the ins and outs.
So you guys were there for November 12th, right? For the game against Charlotte. Was that the first time that you were on the bench for it, where people were able to see you at the game? I know the announcement was on the 11th.
Correct, correct. Yeah. So yes, that's the first game we were on the bench. Correct.
So what was that like? And what was Katie said something in the podcast where she said, all the fans, they know they've seen you play. She said, I'm there for all the fans' parents. They're the ones who saw me play. But
Oh, it's
what was
just
it like to
hilarious.
to have your name called, and for people to kind of recognize you after all that you did at this program?
Yeah, it was honestly, it was a little strange. It was just for me, I've always been a player in a different role. When that buzzer hits, when that game starts, so it's definitely new for me, and I'm sure Katie, it was a little different too. Her being such a legend that she was here, but it was pretty cool. I think to still be associated with this program, with these girls, with this special group, but in a different way, and affecting the game in a different way, and having a new perspective of the game. I really enjoyed it, and like I said at the beginning, when we were going through our starting lineups, it was a little different for me. But as the game went on, it was great to watch these girls from a different view, and to watch them succeed. It was a lot of fun.
Was there a particular teammate who you were extra excited to reunite with, to be able to connect with, and take me through kind of what that moment was like?
Honestly, all of them. All the
Mhm.
girls I've played with, all the girls that, I mean, me and Madison grew up here together. We've been here since day one. And Cody, TT, like all these girls I've been with for such a long time, and even the newcomers, and already starting to build relationships with them, and seeing how much potential they have. And even that first game I was on the bench, just being able to watch them compete, it's pretty cool. I think leadership is a big thing for this group, so being able to kind of help them in that aspect, and help the leaders communicate, help these new, it's a new team, so anytime communication is going to be the key. And I think it was just really awesome to see them compete. Like I said, just from a different perspective.
It's great to see. It's not surprising, like I said, but as usual, you're ahead of schedule. So a lot more to talk about with Jacy Sheldon. We're going to get into Dallas wins season one in segment two. I'm Howard Megdal. You're listening to Locked On Women's Basketball. But first, Locked On Women's Basketball is brought to you by Game Time. And Game Time gives you the opportunity, if you go to the app or you go to gametime.co, to get tickets for whatever it is you want to see. I've got some theater crazies in my house who absolutely love theater. They love music, of course, basketball obsessives as well. And so while I was covering the WNBA finals, I had people in my family able to watch the WNBA finals from the stands. And it matters. My daughter, Juliet, she needs to know not just where she's sitting, but what the view is going to be so she can take in the games properly. So we make sure that she goes to the Game Time app and uses it. You can do the same thing. Be like Juliet and go to the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off. There's women's college basketball. There's even the NBA, it's called. It's the men's basketball professional league. Apparently it's up and coming, and there are some teams as well. And again, as we always say, men's basketball, a perfectly wonderful thing to watch in between women's basketball games. It'll pass the time from one to the next. So make sure you go to Game Time for all of your ticket needs. Yeah, I took my wife actually to a Sixers game just recently, and she was like, "Well, why isn't it intense like the New York Liberty crowds?" And I said,
Oh my
"Well,
gosh.
that's a whole other conversation."
That's
But
pretty cool.
it was lots of fun. So back here with Jacy Sheldon, talking in segment 2 about season 1 with the Dallas Wings. I just want to, if you forgive the point of personal privilege, to just talk a little bit ahead of time, a little bit of I told you so to the viewers, where I said, Jacy was going to be able to come in and contribute right away at the pro level. Jacy, from our conversations dating back to college that we have always talked about your game translating really well to the pros. Now we're looking back, right, in this year 1. And where did you feel the most comfortable jump going to the pro game, where you felt like I was able to be the player I wanted to be most in this area?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think obviously when you jump from one level to the next, there's always going to be an adjustment period. And I think for me, my speed is something that translated pretty well to the next level, and my speed and quickness on both sides of the floor. To be honest, mostly defensively, I think that's the area I thrived in this year, as far as just translating pretty quickly and being able to adjust guarding full court. We did a lot of that at Dallas, which we did here as well. So I think that was something that I was able to catch on to pretty quick, and had a lot of great matchups at that level that were really fun and that I looked forward to. But also offensively, just continuing to, it's more about confidence when you get to that level, and everyone's fast, but I think my speed and quickness also translated in that aspect. But like I said, you're always going to have an adjustment period. All the rookies did, and I think it was fun. It was fun, finding our niche, and even competing against, the best women in the world. It was definitely an experience I'll never forget.
You were an excellent three-point shooter in
Mhm.
college, and it was one of the skills you're bringing right away to the W. The percentage lagged here in year 1, but the thing maybe this will end up being an entire podcast about Maddie Segrist, but it reminds me so much of Maddie and
Mhm.
her jump from year 1 to year 2. What is it that makes it harder? Is it getting it off quicker because you have longer length of the people who are coming with closeouts? Like, just kind of take me through the difference between hitting those shots.
Um, I shot more threes in college.
Right.
I think that's the main difference for percentage wise there. And I need to shoot more at the next level too. But yeah, I mean, everyone you're going against is quicker, faster, stronger, longer. So that obviously plays a role. And a lot of these girls have been doing it for a while. And like I said, you're playing against the best in the world.
Hmm.
And college competition is great as well. And it prepares you, great. You play a lot of really good players. And you play against the best at this level. So obviously, all those are going to be things that you have to adjust to. And I think, like I said, there's an adjustment period. But when you talk about percentages, I definitely shot a couple more threes in college than I did
Hmm.
WNBA. But like you mentioned, Maddie, and just her jump and her growth from year 1 to year 2, I think she makes a good point. She says it all the time. Going into year 2, you know what to expect, and it's not new. It's not foreign to you anymore. You kind of go in knowing you went through your rookie season, you went through things you weren't sure about, and coming in, year two, you're ready for it. And I think that's something I'm looking forward to.
It's rhythm. It's
Mhm.
rhythm. People just look at the raw numbers, and it's just you got to look at. You need to
Yeah,
get the rhythm, the opportunity. There's not. I can't think of a shooter I have covered who, when you look at when you play less than 10 minutes, is the shooting better than if you play more than 10 minutes? You play more than 20 minutes. That breakdown is always there. So yes,
absolutely.
in Maddie we trust. And you actually took my next question, which I love, which is that coming in to year two, you're right. You have these understanding of things. What's the number one thing you wish you knew coming into year one that you're going to take into year two that helps you?
Ooh, that's a great question. I think um, anytime you join a new team, there's a period of time where you have to learn how to play with people and kind of adjust to their schemes offensively and defensively. And um, that's a great question. I think a lot of times, especially being a rookie, you want to follow the go-tos, follow the plays, follow everything. And I think sometimes that took away from my normal game, my usual game of being the aggressor. And I think that's anyone who just steps foot in the league. So going into year two, I think it's more of playing your game and finding your teammates and being able to create for your teammates. And I think that's kind of our whole team's mindset. And I think it's something I'm looking forward to, and obviously continuing to score at all three levels, but really looking forward to the next season.
When you talk about defense, so much of that is continuity. And obviously, there's some changes going on in Dallas right now.
Mhm.
Curious if you've had the chance to connect to Kurt at this point, and sort of how you go about making sure that you're able to take those skills and translate into, ultimately what's going to be, whoever the head coach is, a different system.
Yeah, I have connected with Kurt. He's connected with all of us pretty soon after his hiring was announced, and
Mhm.
super excited for him. We congratulated him. He's an amazing guy, and this will be
Yeah.
a great position for him, and we're excited. Like you mentioned, we still have that coaching hire, and that'll probably happen soon. And obviously, we just got the number one pick, so a lot of exciting things happening for our organization, and a lot of things we're excited about. But absolutely, I think anytime you get a new coach, there's going to be new systems. There's going to be there. All coaches do things differently, right? So I think we're all looking forward to seeing who the new coach is, and we know Kurt will pick the right person. So we're excited for
Another perfect segue into the number one pick. Take
it.
me through. Were you watching? Where were you watching? And sort of, what was your reaction? Did you have superstitions? Take me through what that experience was like.
I was not watching. We actually had a game. We were playing at
Okay.
Belmont during the lottery, so I wasn't able to watch. I knew we had the best odds. I knew us in LA.
Mhm.
I knew we had Chicago's pick, and then obviously ours. So I knew we had a pretty good chance. I knew it would probably be one or two. But
Mhm.
after the game, after I won at Belmont, somebody yelled like, "You guys number one pick!" So that's how I found out. And then
Somebody
obviously
in the
got.
stands? Somebody in the stands yelled it?
No, 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 no. One of our coaches, once we
Nice.
came out of the locker room, but obviously after that, jumped on my phone and saw it. So it's exciting. We're looking forward to it. It's anytime. I mean, you look in the past and look what number one draft picks have done for teams, and it's something to be excited about for sure. So we can't wait.
In the experience that you talked about, you just that Belmont one was a big win.
Yeah.
And you guys have the opportunity to obviously play a bunch more in state. I'm terribly sorry that you have to fly down to sunny Florida at the end of November. That must be a real sacrifice for you as well. But do you feel like as you reflect on your pro tenure that this has given you the opportunity through these road trips? Do you sort of flash back to year one? I'm just wondering how much, because I know we've talked about visualization going forward, but I just wonder how much it works for you as you reflect as well.
Absolutely. I'm reflect whether I realize it or not. I'm reflecting kind of with each game, each road trip, and
Yeah.
it's definitely different. Even road trips now, not being out there and playing, they're different. They change, and different areas you focus on that maybe you wouldn't as much if you were a player. So I think it's really cool. It's really cool to see the shift and to kind of prioritize, and your perspectives change, and you notice things like I mentioned earlier that you might not if you're on the court playing. So it's been awesome. It's been like I said, a little different to start off, but now I'm getting used to it, and this is a special group. So just being able to be a part of them and to help them in any way that they need on or off the court is going to be it's going to be fun for me and hopefully them too.
It's exciting to see. We're going to get back with bigger picture, long-term arc of Jacy Sheldon here at segment 3 back in just a moment. I'm Howard Megdal. You're listening to Locked On Women's Basketball. Locked On Women's Basketball is brought to you by Chime, and Chime gives you an opportunity to get serious about your finances. We've all hit a point where we realized it was time to make some significant money moves. So you can take control of your finances by using a Chime checking account with features like no maintenance fees, fee-free overdraft for up to $200. It protects you. You make sure you may not have your eye on it every second of every day, but Chime does. You can even get paid up to 2 days early with direct deposit. Chime helps you make progress with fee-free overdraft. You can get spotted on debit card purchases, cash withdrawal, over 50,000 fee-free ATMs, a lot to help you. You can do it. How? Go to chime.com/NBA and give yourself a chance to work toward your financial goals. Again, chime.com/NBA. You can open your account in 2 minutes. Chime.com/NBA. Chime feels like progress. Back here with Jacy Sheldon, segment 3, and let's just be real about it. The way in which you were giving me those segues, obviously broadcasting could be a thing you could do in your future. You have this coaching in your blood, and now you're getting this chance to do it. You also are now coming of age as a professional in a time where there are more opportunities than there have ever been. If you and I were talking 5 years ago, it was, gee, where are you going overseas? Now, overseas is an opportunity. So is Unrivaled. So is Athletes Unlimited. So is more and more expanded opportunities on coaching staffs as well. For you, as you think about this, has it changed compared to even where you thought your professional world would take you when you got to school a half a decade ago?
Oh, absolutely. I think when I entered college, I wasn't sure. Other than basketball, I wasn't sure what I wanted to do when I was hanging up the shoes. And I think it's changed a lot, since I first started, got my first degree, and I got my master's in sports management, knowing that I would be able to build connections and meet people that I probably wouldn't be able to with any other master's program, and knew I wanted to stay involved with sports, just wasn't sure how yet. So I definitely still want to go into broadcasting. That's something I think I'd be really interested in doing. And, even if it's the off season, if it's when I'm done with basketball, whatever it may be, but that's something that really interests me. And then obviously coaching, I can never count that out, especially after this experience. I think I'm really going to enjoy it. And I think it's going to help my game as well, which
Mhm.
might sound weird, but I think just viewing the game from another perspective is always useful. So, yeah, in the future, I don't know if I have an answer yet. I think broadcasting, coaching, it could be both, could be either one, but obviously gonna play in this league as long as I can.
The delightful thing is that you don't have to choose and
Hmm.
you get these opportunities to try everything, even the
Yep.
front office. And so again, you led me, which I appreciated. Yeah, you really got to look at that broadcasting thing because it was the front office tenure and seeing just now Jasmine Thomas getting a
Hmm.
promotion, I thought was really
It was
significant.
awesome. Yeah.
Again, you're seeing a player who really similar, right?
Hmm.
I always learn from when I cover a coach on the floor, then literally a coach, and
Yep.
now getting the chance to be in a front office and getting those opportunities as well. Do you, in your mind, think, look, here's a path that could also potentially be for me?
Absolutely. And Jazz is someone that has, helped me so much through this experience and someone I look up to so much. So Absolutely. I'm so happy for her. I'm selfishly gonna miss her on the floor, obviously, but so excited for her in the position she, just recently got. So it's an exciting time for her, and absolutely, I think that could be a path. And I can't tell you exactly how it'll go, and I'm excited to see how the future lays itself out. But super happy for Jazz. She's gonna do a great job.
Listen, I miss covering her as a player, so I feel your pain as well. But it's true, and that is the beauty part of this. And when everyone talks about these opportunities, I just think it's really important that we understand it's not just about the money, it's about career path opportunities and options, which is the number one thing we always talk about here on the program. Jacy Sheldon, you have every option at your disposal. I can't wait to cover every bit of it. So we appreciate you here. To our listeners, I thank you for making us your first listen every day. Delightfully for you, there is an upgrade in the host chair tomorrow because Jackie Powell will be taking you home and on into the weekend. So until then, I am Howard Megdal, wishing all of you a wonderful day.
You are Locked On Women's Basketball, your daily podcast on women's basketball. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.